Erik Ten Hag was sacked. That's right, sacked after just 98 days in his post as head coach at Bayer Leverkusen. That sacking has sent ripples through the football world, well, certainly through the Bundesliga. Despite his pedigree, serial trophy winner in his native, the Netherlands, the club deemed his tenure absolutely untenable. Here's 5 reasons behind the decision for the sacking of Erik Ten Hag. Reason number 1 is a breakdown in relationships, not just with the players, but also with the CEO, Fernando Caro, stick a fig on it, and the sporting director, Simon Rolfs. Ten Hag reportedly failed to connect with the players and staff, including those who he brought in under his stewardship. The atmosphere was described as being cold, Palmer cold, and his refusal apparently to give a motivational speech after their opening day loss. That's right, because of course Bayer Leverkusen lost their opening Bundesliga game to Hoffenheim. Well, apparently that left many stunned. Expanding on that point just a little bit further, he's a manager who apparently just couldn't connect. From the moment he arrived, the atmosphere at Leverkusen began to sour. Reports, as we've already highlighted, describe the atmosphere as just being cold. Even his own coaching team struggled to connect with him. This wasn't a clash of personalities, it was a complete failure, an abject failure to build trust across the club. Some of these highlights include there was no pre-match speech at Hoffenheim. That was before the season opener. Apparently Ten Hag refused to deliver a motivational speech. Players were stunned, and it signalled a lack of emotional leadership, and it left the dressing room flat. He disconnected from staff, the likes of physios, nutritionists and support staff. They all felt alienated. His communication style was described as being distant, and he failed to foster any kind of collaborative culture that had previously thrived under the Spaniard Xabi Alonso. Apparently he berated his players post-match after the 3-3 collapse against 10 men Werder Bremen. Hey, you can cheer that one in, can't you? Oh, Werder Bremen. Ten Hag had reportedly told the squad they were boys and not men. Not boys to men, but boys, not men. Lots of musical reference coming up in this video, by the way. Instead of rallying the team and getting them pumped up, he fractured the morale even further. And apparently his isolation from decision makers, it was just left in the dark, apparently, especially when it came to transfers. Even though he put his foot down and said, right, okay, Granit Xhaka, away the lads, he can go, but nobody else goes under my tenure. Apparently he didn't even know, right, this is laughable, he did not even know, Ten Hag did not know that Leverkusen had signed Lucas Vazquez until after the deal was done, which is in stark contrast, by the way, to Xabi Alonso, who had been involved in every single squad planning meeting. If you're still watching, you either love football or you're just here for the chaos. Either way, smash that like button, just like Bayern, smash Leipzig. And if you haven't subscribed yet, mate, what you playing at? Get it done. Join the squad, hit that bell, and let's grow together here on the German Football Spotlight channel. Reason number 2, and this is a continuation of the theme around the transfers that happened under Erik Ten Hag's stewardship, or can you call it that after 98 days? I once was in a job for 44 days. Anyway, that's a completely different topic for another video, for another channel. Apparently Ten Hag was accused of favouring players that were represented by the same agency that looked after his commercial interests, and that's SEG, the SEG football group. This raised eyebrows over a potential conflict of interest. Just expanding on this point even further, he was accused of meddling in Leverkusen's transfer strategy, again allegedly favouring players that were represented by the agency SEG. That's the same group, like I said, that represents him personally. This raised an internal red flag, especially given his history of pushing SEG represented clients, footballers, the likes of Anthony and Andre Onana, which of course they were signed during Ten Hag's tenure. It's Josh Bosch darts. While he was at Manchester United in the English Premier League. Apparently Leverkusen's board reportedly grew frustrated with Ten Hag's attempts to steer recruitment towards those preferred targets, again those players that are represented by this SEG agency. Apparently Ten Hag pushed to sign Quentin Timber, who's brother of Arsenal's, Inigonzo gives a claw, his brother of Jurrien Timber, Of course, Quinten Timber is playing at Feyenoord, but the club refused to meet the €20 million valuation or offload another player in order to make room. Of course, that's a familiar scenario when you talk about transfers, right? It's a familiar scenario. It's got to be one in, one out. His public comments, apparently, this is Ten Hag, his public comments about transfer targets further strained relations with Bayer Leverkusen. This is according to Kicker magazine, because they described him as being stubborn and lacking any discretion whatsoever. Of course, there was a huge breakdown over away the lads over Granit Xhaka. That was a major public flashpoint. Apparently, he vetoed the sale of Granit Xhaka to Sunderland in the English Premier League. He called him too important to let go, despite the club already finalising that deal days later. Xhaka was on a flight to Sunderland. Ten Hag was left undermined and visibly out of sync with the board's decision. Of course, on that board, and you've seen this guy, he's been quoted, you've seen him in, quoted a lot on the likes of X. It's Simon Rolfs. Anyway, Simon Rolfs. And in a bizarre twist, Ten Hag was reportedly unaware, this is just fucking mind-blowing, he was unaware that Leverkusen had signed Lucas Vazquez from Real Madrid until the deal was finished. This lack of transparency just further highlights the disconnect between the manager and the upper management. Reason number 3, not to be cheerful. Especially, well, you wouldn't be cheerful if you're Erik Ten Hag. My more mature viewers or just music lovers would have picked up there on the Ian Dury and the Blockhead reference. Anyway, reason number 3, unpopular training methods. Players describe his sessions as being unusually long and often overly focused on physical drills like push-ups, but with no tactical clarity, which is in stark contrast with a structured ball-focused regime that was insisted upon by previous manager Xabi Alonso. Expanding upon this point just a little bit further, Ten Hag's training sessions were described by insiders as being unusually long, physically demanding and tactically unclear. Players were apparently reported as being baffled by the emphasis on push-ups and conditioning drills, which replaced... I can't get my words out. It's insane. Push-ups and conditioning drills, which replace structured tactical work. What fucking year is it? Anyway, this wasn't just a one-off punishment, as in like, right, you, get down, give me 20, or you, right, give me 15 laps of the pitch. No, this was a recurring theme. Part of the everyday training regime under Ten Hag that left the squad frustrated and disconnected. And I tell you why this matters, because when Ten Hag was trying to take a top-down, physically intense approach to his training, apparently the players just felt like it was outdated. There was very little buy-in from the squad. There was no clarity on the pitch, and his methods alienated players and pretty much accelerated his exit from the football club. There is a video, by the way, which you can go and find on Ask Jeeves, and actually I will include it in the description box down below. One of the very first training sessions that Ten Hag carries out, you can see in those early drills that the players just, well, they sort of look engaged, but then reports from behind the scenes suggest otherwise. They suggest that the enthusiasm quickly faded as the sessions became repetitive and lacked any sort of strategic depth. Reason number 4 is tactical confusion, which led to poor results. Now, some of you might have realised that in pre-season, Flamengo's under-20s beat Bayer Leverkusen 5-0. Leverkusen's performances were, how do we say, erratic, starting in the Bundesliga at least, with a 2-1 loss to Hoffenheim. Bearing in mind that's a team that finished 15th in the Bundesliga last season and has had the spine of its team completely fucking decimated because Christian Ilse has had to sell or move people on. He was forced to, well, he didn't have a lot of choice over Tom Bischoff going to FC Bayern Munich. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is they were beaten 2-1 at Hoffenheim, a team that's a shadow of what they looked like last season. And of course there was a 3-3 draw against 10 men, Werder Bremen. That was a game in which they blew a 2-goal lead. And if you watch the highlights, it's kind of clear that there wasn't a game plan at 2-1 up, and there was mounting frustration by the players on the bench, and then ultimately with the CEO Fernando Caro, stick a fig on it, and the sporting director Simon Rolfs. Expanding upon this point about the tactical naivety just a little bit more, Ten Hag's Leverkusen side looked disjointed, reactive and tactically incoherent. It's a stark contrast, by the way, to the fluid, high-pressing identity that Leverkusen built at the work self under Xabi Alonso. The results weren't that bad. It's just there was something symptomatic of a deeper strategic disconnect. Wow, that sounds good, doesn't it, Gonzo? A deeper strategic disconnect. This lack of tactical identity, to put my teeth in, you'll see how Ten Hag's system lacked any sort of verticality and any sort of positional rotation that was the hallmark of Xabi Alonso's success. Instead, Leverkusen's build-up play just became static, with midfielders unsure of their roles and the wide players feeling isolated. As we said, that 2-1 home defeat to Hoffenheim was then followed by a chaotic 3-3 draw, a game in which the opponents, Werder Bremen, were down to 10 men, that's right, after Ned Stark or Nicholas Stark was sent off for a second yellow card. And analysts have looked at this and gone, how the fuck has he squandered a 2-goal lead against 10 men? It was a 94th minute equaliser as well, by the way. That's despite, like we say, having a man advantage. And after that game, apparently, the Bremen collapse, Ten Hag reportedly told the players that they played like boys and not men, and they should be embarrassed. Insiders apparently revealed how this outburst absolutely fractured relationships and deepened the disconnect between the coach, Ten Hag, and his newly assembled squad. Why does any of this matter? Well, in a league where tactical clarity is absolutely paramount, as it is in the Bundesliga, Ten Hag's system felt uncertain and misaligned. The players didn't buy into it, the results didn't justify the patience, and the board saw no path forward. His sacking wasn't just about losing, it was about losing without a plan. And point number 5 to finish us off is a breakdown in the club's culture. Now, keep in mind that Ten Hag's arrival was meant to usher in a new era. That was after Xabi Alonso's historic double-winning, unbeaten season. Again, it's this feels a lot like David Moyes coming in after Sir Alex Ferguson stepped down at Manchester United. Anyway, instead of this new era being ushered in under Erik Ten Hag, serial trophy winner with Ajax in the Eredivisie, and I would apply to Manchester United in the English Premier League. In his first season, again, let's not forget, Erik Ten Hag's Manchester United finished in 3rd place, which was a qualification to the Champions League. And in the first 2 years that he was there, he won our favourite, the EFL trophy, the league trophy, of course, sponsored by, and we do love them, the Caribou. He won the Caribou Cup, and in the second season, he won the FA Cup. He didn't just win the FA Cup there, did he? Fucking beat the other side of Manchester. Beat the Blue Half, didn't he? Anyway, so instead of this new era coming into the club, instead it's triggered this rapid unravelling of trust, an unravelling of cohesion, and an unravelling of internal harmony, not just with the players but across the entire club's infrastructure. Apparently, Ten Hag failed to convey any ideas to his players. The staff described him as being one of the worst communicators they'd ever worked with. Fucking hell, that is savage, isn't it? One of the worst communicators they'd ever worked with, noting that, and I quote, no one knew what to do. No one knew what to do, even when they were leading 3-1 against Werder Bremen. This lack of a clear game plan apparently created confusion and absolute abject resentment. Ten Hag's own statement admits, this is following his sacking, by the way, I feel this was never a relationship based on mutual trust. The club executives echoed this sentiment, to be fair, saying that the feelings that they had were that everyone was going in the wrong direction and that building a new and successful team is the priority, and it just wasn't feasible with Erik Ten Hag at the helm. Ten Hag didn't just lose matches, he lost the emotional and professional fabric that holds a club together. In a post-Alonso era, Leverkusen, well, they've been crying out for unity and vision. Again, we liken the parallel to David Moyes coming in after Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United. But instead, what's happened at Leverkusen is they've got isolation, confusion, and a coach who just couldn't embed himself into the club's DNA. With Erik Ten Hag now out of the picture at Bayer Leverkusen, the media, the likes of Kicker, Bill and Sky, well, they've started to build their own shortlist of replacements. Now, some of the candidates that were on that shortlist that have actually ruled themselves out include former Barcelona midfielder and former manager. I say former because he was fired, when in came Hansi Flick. Anyway, Xavi Hernandez, he's declined Leverkusen's approach, citing it's not the right time for him to return to management. Also on that shortlist, apparently it's Edin Terzic. Edin Terzic, of course, former manager of Borussia Dortmund. He won the Bundesliga and several DFB Pokals for BVB. And then the special one, Jose Mourinho, apparently he dismissed himself as a candidate due to it being a stylistic mismatch. That's despite the fact that he's just been fired from Fenerbahce. According to insiders then, the actual shortlist that's been built out by Fernando Caro and Simon Rolfe. Top of that list apparently is Claudio Giraldes. He's currently managing Celta Vigo, that's in La Liga. He took over from Rafa Benitez apparently in March of 2024. He favours a possession-based style, pushes the youth development. That's as part of a long-term vision. However, with Celta Vigo about to begin their campaign in the Europa League, bringing him away or prying him away, apart from money, right? Because money talks. I think that'll be a bit too difficult. So I can't see Claudio Giraldes coming in. Of course, one of our favourites is Marco Rose, the former RB Leipzig and before that Borussia Mönchengladbach manager. He remains a strong candidate because of the success that he achieved, actually both in the Austrian Bundesliga with RB Salzburg and then with RB Leipzig. He's known for high-intensity pressing, transitional play, and he's closer in his mould and his makeup to Xabi Alonso than what he is to Ten Hag. And he's out of work, right? So it should be just dangle that carrot and it should turn up. And the third player on it, and fuck out, this should be mind-blowing, would be Raúl. Remember Raúl? Raúl, the diminutive Spanish striker, the Real Madrid legend. Apparently, he's interested, although he's quite happy managing Castilla. Now, Castilla is effectively it's the B team. It's like Bayer Leverkusen 2. They play in the third tier in Spain, but of course there's a restriction on Castilla because of their affiliation with Real Madrid. Even if they win that division, they can't get promoted. Anyway, Raul's coaching style emphasises tactical development and tactical discipline, two things that allegedly Erik Ten Hag was missing during his 98 days at Bayer Leverkusen. And also he's Spanish, so that would add to the legacy that Bayer Leverkusen's got in giving young Spanish managers their break. Let's give the last word to Erik Ten Hag then. He called in his scathing statement after, probably while he was waiting for his Uber to turn up, that the decision to sack him was unprecedented. And he said the club, Bayer Leverkusen, never gave him the time or, more importantly, the trust to implement his vision. He leaves, obviously, Bayer Leverkusen searching for a new identity, but more importantly, a new manager. Whether this is a necessary course of action or a premature panic move, I guess that will come out in the wash. Anyway, Erik Ten Hag, apparently, has been on the shortlist of going back to manage in the Eredivisie, but again, as of the time of recording, that's still very much TBD. What are your thoughts then, people, of this short and punchy video where we've given you 5 reasons as to why Erik Ten Hag was sacked from his position as head coach at Bayer Leverkusen? Sacked, by the way, inside 100 days. I'm not sure if he should be proud or smug about that. And apparently, in terms of his financial severance, his payout, it's going to be pretty good. So he won't be in a rush to get back into management. Anyway, what do you think out there? I'm looking directly down the camera, or Bayer Leverkusen fans or fans of BO4. What do you think to that? What do you think about the appointment in the first place, about the results, about the fact that they couldn't hold on to a 2-goal advantage against 10 men? Sorry, Werder Bremen. What do you think about that? You know what you can do, can't you? There's a comment section down there. It's got your name written all over it. And if you have got this far in this short video, which I know is uncharacteristic for us, but fuck it, enjoy it. Thank you so much from Gonzo and I. It means the world to us. The fact that you keep showing up day after day, video after video, you show it with your eyeballs, your likes and your comments. Thank you so much. You can, of course, extend that a little bit further. Smash the like, hit the subscribe and spread the word when you're out and about and in with a shout. And if you've enjoyed this video, well, guess what? You're in luck, because there's an entire back catalogue of Bundesliga videos that we're adding to on a daily basis for you to enjoy.